stethoscope count? Dr. Grimsby here, and tonight we travel to one of our most frightening investigations, a place so cursed that even the locals refuse to speak its name. Once home for the sick, the damned, and the desperate, now it lies abandoned in the Venetian mist. Welcome to Poveglia Island.
Venice, a city built on water and wonder. For centuries its bells marked prosperity. Its markets overflowed with laughter and light. Beyond the glittering canals, a tiny island slept in silence, barely a blemish on the horizon. To the fishermen who passed, it was nothing more than a patch of reeds and stone. But time moves like the tide, and the tide was beginning to change. Whispers rode the wind across the lagoon, rumors of sickness, of ships that never returned. The year was 1576. The plague had returned. Once again, the city that ruled the sea was drowning in its own fear. Doors were nailed shut, families sealed inside their homes. The unlucky were taken by boat, ferried across the lagoon to a place of isolation, a small, forgotten island named Poveglia. For the sick, it was a death sentence. For the dying, it was the last shore they would ever see. When the first boats reached Poveglia, the island became a grave before it ever became a hospital. The dead were everywhere, on the beaches, in the fields, piled beside the smoldering pyres. The living were left to wait their turn, surrounded by the sounds of coughing, prayers, and the burning wind. Venetian chronicler Rocco Benedetti wrote in the 16th century,
"The sick lay 3 or 4 in a bed. Workers collected the dead and threw them in the graves all day without a break. Often the dying ones and the ones too sick to move or talk were taken for dead and thrown on the piled corpses."
History may have forgotten his name, but his words remain, echoing through the centuries, whispering what it truly meant to live and die on Poveglia. When the fires died, nothing moved on Poveglia. The air hung heavy with the smoke of 100,000 souls. Venice sealed the island, forbidding any to return. For more than a century, only the wind crossed its shores, carrying whispers the living refused to hear. A century later, the silence of Poveglia was broken once again. In 1922, a psychiatric hospital opened in the ruins of the plague buildings. Patients complained of shadows in the halls and wailing voices at night. The cries of plague victims, they said. The doctors dismissed their fears, all except one. According to legend, a physician began conducting experiments in secret. Lobotomies performed with hammers, chisels, and drills without anesthesia. He claimed he could silence madness itself. But in the end, it was he who lost his mind. Tormented by ghosts, the doctor climbed the bell tower and leapt, or was thrown, to his death. Locals say the tower still echoes with his screams. Long after the asylum closed, the bell tower of Poveglia remained. Locals say its chime still drifts across the lagoon on nights when no wind blows. Fishermen refuse to anchor near its shores, claiming they've heard screams rising from the water, the same cries that once echoed from the tower itself. Visitors describe the air as heavy, charged, and wrong. Instruments fail, cameras die, Some claim they've seen a figure in white pacing along the upper balcony, the spirit of the doctor, condemned to relive his final fall. Others say the voices don't come from the tower at all, but from beneath it. Those who step ashore say the island hums beneath their feet, a vibration you feel more than hear. The soil is unlike any other in Venice. Thick and grey, it clings to your boots and stains your hands. Scientists say it's rich in calcium and ash, but the locals will tell you why. They say Poveglia was fed by the dead, that so many bodies were burned here. The earth itself is half human. Each step presses into centuries of bone dust and memory. Visitors describe whispers rising from the ground, too faint to understand. Sometimes a cry, sometimes a name. It's as if the plague victims are still reaching upward, trying to be heard through the weight of their own ashes. For decades, Poveglia was silent, forbidden by law, ignored by time. But in recent years, the curious have returned. Historians, investigators, and thrill seekers drawn to its legend. Their cameras capture what their eyes cannot. Voices caught on recorders whispering in Italian. Shadows crossing doorways long after the light has gone. EMF meters spike in empty rooms, and footsteps echo from corridors no one has entered in centuries. Some say the island resists intrusion. Batteries drain, equipment fails, and boats store near the shore. Even the air grows thick, electric, as if the island remembers being disturbed. Every visit ends the same way, with silence, and the feeling that something unseen is still watching. And still, it calls to the living. In 2016, a group of American tourists snuck onto Poveglia after dark. Fishermen heard their screams echoing across the lagoon. Firefighters found them at dawn, shaking, incoherent, claiming they'd seen faces in the fog and hands reaching from the ruins. Whatever they met that night didn't want them to stay.
That escalated beautifully. Screams in the night, phantom physicians, tourists fleeing for their lives. If that doesn't earn extra credit on the haunting hand scale, nothing will. The results are in, my creepy companions. It's time to consult the haunting hands formula and see just how ghastly our Venetian vacation truly was. We judge every cursed site by 4 fiendish factors, and together they conjure a final score of 1 to 5 haunting hands. Step right up, my creepy companions, to our very first category. Deaths and tragedies. How much blood, sorrow, and misfortune stain the history of these walls. Plague fires that turned the island to ash. An asylum where fear wore a doctor's mask. And a bell tower echoing with one final scream. Poveglia's story is soaked in sorrow from surface to soil. Next, reported activity. Do shadows walk, doors slam, and whispers echo through the night? The toll of a phantom bell whispers beneath the ground, and tourists so terrified they had to be rescued at dawn. You can't buy publicity like that, though the island does tend to keep the receipts. Our third measurement of chills, historical significance. Was this place forged in fire, war, or infamy, giving weight to its legend? Centuries of plague, quarantine, and unspeakable experiments. A timeline written in smoke and suffering. Few places on Earth can boast a resume so rich in ruin. Finally, reputation. How do the living regard it? Do locals and paranormal pilgrims alike whisper its cursed name in dread? Banned by law, feared by locals, whispered about around the world. Even the bravest ghost hunters can't resist its forbidden call. If legend were currency, Poveglia would be priceless. And now, by my frightful formula, I pronounce Poveglia Island a near-perfect 5 out of 5 haunting hands, a masterpiece of misery, a ghost story carved in ash and echo. Truly, Italy's most haunted isle. Ah, my creepy companions, what a frightful delight that was. Plagues, phantoms, and physicians gone quite mad, all wrapped up in one Venetian vacation. Poveglia reminds us that history never truly rests. It simply waits for company. So remember, if you enjoyed tonight's experiment in terror, do your part for science and superstition alike. Press that glowing subscribe button before the ghosts do. Keep your lanterns lit, your courage bottled, and your curiosity properly caffeinated. And until next time, see you in the next investigation.